Well, thank you all for attending today's First Thursday with the Sustainability Alliance on shifting perspectives through storytelling. This month, we're excited to welcome our guest speaker, Jamie Glisson, correspondent and photojournalist with Tri-City Collective and Focus Black Oklahoma. Today, we will explore the role of photojournalism and storytelling in driving sustainability progress, and find inspiration to take control of our own narratives through capturing the world around us. Thank you for being with us today, Jamie. We are really looking forward to your insights and expertise that you have to share with us on this important topic. Next, Teresa is now going to launch an intro poll. If you don't mind, please take a moment to answer those questions and to pop up in your Zoom window while we begin. It's very helpful to us, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. So thank you. Next, the programs that we bring to our viewers, such as First Thursday events, would not be possible without our supporters and sponsors. So we want to say a big thank you to the following sponsors who help us bring education, resources, and community connections to your screen each month. So thank you to our lead sponsor, Williams, our neighborhood partners, Public Service Company of Oklahoma and PSO Wind Choice, our community advocates, Cavanta, the Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Air Systems, Tulsa Farmers Market, Sustainable Advisors Alliance, and Philbrook Museum of Art. So please give them a thank you and a round of applause, and send them a thank you in the chat, because really we couldn't bring this program to you without their support. So thank you to all our sponsors. And if you'd like to join this list of sponsors and help us bring these important topics and experts to your home and office, please reach out to Morgan Fairley in the chat and ask how you can be a part of that. So thank you. And thank you to our wonderful Sustainability Alliance board members. We appreciate all you do to support us further in our mission. We want to specifically thank board members we see in the room there: Thelma Latimer Davis, Connor Carroll, Ann Money, and Mike T. And if I'm missing anyone else, I think probably Richard Cox is probably in the room there with Spirit. And so if I missed anybody, thank you all for joining us today. It's an incredible group of board members, and we appreciate all their support. And finally, I'd like to thank the incredible Sustainability Alliance team who worked so hard to bring programming like this to you: Teresa Kerrigan, Jill Maud, Morgan Fairley, and Missy Lukenbach. So give them a round of applause as well. And if you want to send a thank you and encouraging note in the chat, always appreciate that for our team. So again, this month is our 6th annual fundraiser for Recharge Under the Stars. So come celebrate with us and show your support for this program by attending the event of the season. Come up on Thursday, September 28th at Press Creek Ranch in Jinx, where we'll bring on the sparkle for the evening of music, local foods and beverages, and an immersive art experience and casual connections with the growing sustainability community in our area. So we hope to see you there. Click there on the link or in the chat, or scan the QR code and get your tickets today. But wait, there's more. If you haven't heard, our green ticket raffle is up and going, and it's amazing. This year, we've put together a package of goods, services, and experience that total over $7,000 in value, and for one lucky winner. So this is something where if it's not everything that you want, you can give this to friends and family. So it's just a great way to kick off your sustainability lifestyle and support that activity in the community. So if you'd like, if you'd like to attend the event, that's great. You could also just get a green ticket if you're not able to join us, and we appreciate that. All the funds go to supporting all of our programs. So items that included in this green ticket are the Bison Roundup experience with the Nature Conservancy, which is a very special opportunity, the custom design and install of a pollinator garden, membership to the Tulsa Zoo, the Oklahoma Aquarium, the Tulsa Botanical Garden, and a home solar package that's worth over $800, solar panels and all types of things to go with that. So, and much more. So don't miss your chance. This is amazing opportunity. So just by scanning that QR code, you can click the link and in the chat now. So we hope you'll join us for that. Okay, now I'd like to share some updates from our sponsor. I'll start our video there from Williams, if it's available to get going.
At Williams, we're focused on adding new technology and operating practices that deliver right here, right now reductions in global emissions, cutting-edge emissions measuring and monitoring, certifiable and transparent emissions data, real-time energy optimization across the natural gas value chain, integration and delivery of the fuels of the future, meeting global energy demand and global climate goals. For us, this is just the beginning. Williams, we make clean energy happen.
Great. Thank you so much, Williams. And next is our PSO partner who wants you to know about their Wind Choice program. If you've not signed up yet, be a part of the solution and embrace renewable energy and the clean energy grid transition by enrolling your household or business today by visiting the link there, psooklahoma.com /clean energy and renewable. So check that out if you haven't. Next, we'd like to thank the Met, who offers recycling services throughout the year through their drop-off sites and special recycling events, and proudly provides meaningful employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities. So find out more by visiting metrecycles.com. We'd also like to thank Save Our Streams for the City of Tulsa department that promotes healthy waterways and pollution prevention through their stormwater quality program. For environmental inspections and household pollutant collections, they offer various services to help you help our streams. So get in touch via email. I think they've got a lot of creek cleanup opportunities. So check them out at stormwaterquality@cityoftulsa.org. Next, we have the Tulsa Farmers Market, which takes place every Saturday from May through November. And then they've continued on into the winter as well, and in the Kendall Whittier district. We have launched a month-long community challenge with the Tulsa Farmers Market last month, and it went great. So anyway, if you want to find out a little more about that, pretty excited about working with them on a challenge they did called the Local Board Lifestyles. And we had 3 winners that got to enjoy some great gifts. So if you're interested in launching a challenge with TerraScore, reach out to Morgan Fairley with your information in the text and in the chat there. And finally, the Sustainability Advisors Alliance. Learn more about this innovative co-op financial advisor group that can help you manage your investment portfolio in a sustainable manner and provide solutions for your profit bottom line. So they offer no minimum requirements to start investing your dollars today. So get in touch with Julie Skye and learn more about visiting their website. And I think we might have one more slide there with Philbrook. Yes, if you haven't been out to Philbrook, this is a good time to go. The gardens are gorgeous, and they also offer beautiful bouquets that you can get every week. So find out more, but they're doing so many innovative things over there. So we'll be out there in October too. So we hope to see you there. So, okay. Again, thank you to all of our sponsors, and appreciate all the help and their support for First Thursdays. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Jamie Glisson. Jamie Glisson has used her camera to capture the details that matter. She documents not just moments, but also the emotions, struggles, and triumphs that shape the human experience. Growing up around the world in a military family instilled in her an appreciation for diverse perspectives that still influence her work today. Glisson started her photojournalism career at Texas A&M University in Kingsville before building an award-winning wedding photography business that would take her across the nation for over a decade. She once again turned her lens towards documenting current events during the 2016 presidential race. Since 2020, Glisson has been an NPR correspondent and photojournalist for Focus Black Oklahoma, shedding light on untold stories happening on the front lines of America's ideological battlefield. Armed with only her camera and her voice recorder, she documents the complex of our time and the details that might otherwise be missed by the history books. Jamie Glisson blends perspectives by examining the various ways identities, environments, communities, and legacies, how they intersect. Her keynote, Shifting Perspectives Through Storytelling, will be highlighting the role of media in shaping a sustainable future amidst the current climate crisis, political upheaval and erased history. So welcome to First Thursdays and the Sustainability Alliance, Jamie. We appreciate your time today.
Frames of Empowerment, Shifting Perspectives Through Photojournalism. My name is Jamie Glisson. I am the operations coordinator for Tri-City Collective and a correspondent / photojournalist for the NPR show Focus Black Oklahoma. Throughout time, photojournalists have made their mark by putting these famous or infamous images out there that just really invoke a deep emotional feeling from people around the world. So I'm sure we all recognize what we have here. Marilyn Monroe, the infamous Napalm Girl images from 9/11, JFK saluting during his father's funeral. The first screening of a 3D movie, Tank Man there in China, Baby Bailey from the Oklahoma City bombing, VJ Day in Times Square, and of course the Rodney King beatings. None of these things would have had the impact and recognition they got if it was not for the individuals that were there to capture as they went along. Now we have an area called media impact, eco-media impact, and basically it is storytelling for sustainability. Media, storytelling, and photojournalism have all been long critical tools for bringing attention to environmental issues and sustainability, from print to journalism and documentaries to viral social media posts. These platforms have a very rich history of illuminating global challenges. These images help invoke change. When I was in elementary school, there was a big push with doing away with disposable straws. Everybody remember the video of the sea turtle that had a straw stuck in its nose. Or another thing that we did when I was young was the dangers of the little plastic loops that go around cans of soda. I don't know anybody in my generation that doesn't take, if you come across one, because thankfully they are phasing out, but you cut those up in 1,000 pieces because this is what happens. So the idea behind eco-media impact is to show what's really happening across the world, even though you personally may not be affected in that moment. The Migrant Mother. So Dorothea Lange is my personal favorite photojournalist. And this image, Migrant Mother, was shot in 1935. Dorothea was hired by the federal government program Farm Security Administration Group, and they hired photographers all over the country to depict the devastation of the Great Depression. Lange followed Oklahoma immigrants all the way to Nipomo Valley in California, and she met Florence Owens Thompson. At first, Thompson was reluctant to have her image taken, but eventually, of course, as you see, she gave in, and she sat and thought about if she had her image taken and this photographer stranger was able to, let the world know what's really happening over here, it could bring help to her and her family at some point. And from the second that this image was published in the Boston Globe in March of 1936, there was an immediate public response. So as Americans, we tend to suffer from that. If it's not happening to me, or if it's not impacting me personally, I don't necessarily need to address it, or I've got too many other things to worry about. But what this image did was it allowed people to see themselves and their loved ones in Florence's eyes. When others can see themselves in an issue or a story, that issue becomes personal, and the solution becomes a call to action. So from the moment that this image was published, there was immediate public response. Donations of food and money and clothing started pouring in from across the country, and did get to Ms. Thompson's Earthrise. So this particular image was taken in 1968, and it helped us realize that not only how vast our universe is, but how small our planet is. By seeing Earth in such a tiny state, people are spurred to better take care of it. And it just kind of became the symbolic image for the environmental movement at that time. We want to, another way to look at it is this invoked almost a feeling of nurturing. So, we like to nurture tiny babies and tiny animals and hold them and care for them and make sure that they grow up happy and healthy. By showing how small our Earth is in comparison to the vastness in space, it gave individuals that almost nurturing, mothering type of emotional response. This particular image of the Cuyahoga River fire in Ohio, I believe, this river has caught fire more than a dozen times, and it wasn't until this image was made public that anything was done to prevent this disaster from happening again. And what was done is, because of this image, it spurred the development of the EPA, our Environmental Protection Agency, and the passage of the Clean Water Act and the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement. Because when you just say, oh yeah, that river up in Ohio, it just catches fire, who especially in 1952, who would believe that a river would just spontaneously catch fire like this, that it was even a threat or something that could be a danger that you have to look out for and pay attention to. But by having this image to show the world, it allowed people to, that wasn't just a tall tale. The starving polar bear. This is a hard image to look at. In fact, the next several are going to be increasingly difficult. So just a trigger warning for those of you out there. But photographer Paul Nicklin, was in the Baffin Islands, which are normally covered with thick sheets of ice and snow, and full of prosperous polar bears and other Arctic animal life, like seals and such. But the snow melted. There's no food to be had because all of the food that this bear eats, he was struggling to find. So, oh gosh, it's just difficult. Imagine being in this situation, and as a photojournalist, you don't want to engage or interact with what you're shooting, because you want to try to capture it as it is. You want to try to leave everything as untouched as possible. And imagine being there in this situation, knowing that this bear is starving, and knowing that you have a whole crew with you, and you're prepared to be out in the Arctic for days with food and water. And it's kind of one of those situations where you have to really decide what kind of person you are. The giraffes die of thirst in Kenya. Who doesn't love giraffes? I mean, to highlight the water shortage and the dire conditions of the effects of climate change, and just the quality of life at this time, well, actually, this image was just taken in 2021. But this emphasized the unseen consequences, which giraffes are portrayed as, funny, sweet little animal, not little, but sweet animals that don't, they don't pose a threat. They're just kind of loving. Child and vulture. So this sweet baby was so weak. She was starving to death. And photographer Kevin Carter took this image right before a vulture who was also starving and had no food to eat, was just waiting for this little girl to die or was going to help it along. The photographer Kevin Carter did help the child after this image was taken. We don't know the final outcome of everything, but we do know that he did reach out. Minister in seawater. So this is a newer image that I did not know existed until I was preparing for this presentation. But this minister has been screaming from the rooftops for decades about the island that they are on, which is in the South Pacific, is it's sinking. It's well, not necessarily sinking, but the water is just the ocean's taking it back. It's being reclaimed, and screaming from the rooftops that their island is shrinking is not bringing them any help. So he decided to do a press conference from an area that was previously underwater. And that's a great way to put more eyes on your cause. Huskies pull sled through water. So this area is typically covered in deep snow. This is not an image that will come to mind. You wouldn't think that Huskies are going to pull a boat across the water, because they don't do that. They pull sleds across snow. And because of our current climate crisis, this is the reality that we are dealing with. And sometimes it doesn't matter what you portray, what images you put out there. There's always going to be those that can turn a blind eye. I mean, there is the end of the world practically. It's like the apocalypse called, and they were not given the memo. So, but they want to play golf, so they're going to go out and they're going to do their thing despite what's happening in the world that is literally burning down around them. And that brings us back to Oklahoma. So we've all heard of the Tar Creek Superfund site up in Pitcher. And this image is an image showing how the over mining of that area caused sinkholes and collapse areas all over town. And if those that don't know of Pitcher, it is now a ghost town. The EPA came in and eventually came in and started cleaning up the site, and which this started before I was even born, and it will be at least 100 years before it's a functioning area of land where the crops and water are not toxic. The main issue right now, besides the imminent danger of collapsing and falling through, is the pollution of the groundwater there. So I could go through that. There's been a million documentaries and stories written about Tar Creek. There's even a new Broadway show that is debuting in New York later this year on this Superfund site. And the individuals over at Lead Agency and the founder of Lead Agency, Rebecca Jim, who is, I believe she's in this room. Rebecca has been working for 40 years, over 40 years, to bring awareness to what's happening here and to try to get the funding to and get people to pay attention enough and to care enough to clean this up. Because sharing these images of the water turning bright orange and sharing these images of the dust that you see in the third image on top, that it's a toxic dust. It is harmful for you to breathe. And the actual chat piles are in the first image on the bottom left here. So these images, even though they are important and they show exactly what the issue is, they show that you have your chat piles that are being weathered away. So as every time it rains, the water comes through, these piles are kind of like giant sponges, and they or filters, and the water goes through them, and then it goes down into our water tables and the aquifers, and the water down below us is all tainted with manganese, lead, magnesium, high levels of these heavy metals, and it's very dangerous. We have children that have been exposed to lead their entire lives, and these heavy metals are something that accumulate over time. So if this started, the site was closed, I believe, in the 70s, and in the 50s, and then the cleanup started around the 70s, but it opened back in the century prior. So this is not a new thing, and this affects multiple generations. So I am starting a series that will air this month on our show, Focus Black Oklahoma. I'm starting a series on the Tar Creek Superfund site, but what I have decided I need to do is these images no longer pull any type of empathy or reaction from anybody. It's almost like they have a blindness to it. So you have to kind of change things up. You change their perspectives. You have to find what really matters to people, because when your story can become their story, your solution becomes their solution. So for Tar Creek, my angle is to show how it's harming our children and our children's children. The effects from these heavy metals happen as a slow process over time. For instance, lead in the body is distributed to the brain, liver, kidney, and bones, and it's stored in your teeth, it's stored in your bones, and it just keeps accumulating over time. This affects the entire body, and it affects entire generations. So by doing things like showing the cute kids in this area, or showing things like if they don't have children, or they could care less, they're not paying, they don't have children living at home anymore, they don't have grandchildren, what have you, then they love their dogs. Or maybe they are avid chess players, or they have an immense American pride. You figure out what is important to your target audience, and then you try to implement that into your story. So I will also pepper in the affected farm animals and family pets and wildlife, with a heavy emphasis on the fish, because those that love to fish may not realize that the tainted waters of Tar Creek affect their recreation, they affect their recreational fishing, they affect their boating. These toxic levels have been found in Grand Lake, but we've already reported on that. It's for decades, and it's not affecting affecting change fast enough. And this area floods so bad. It floods to the point that areas of town, people get trapped in their homes and they can't go to work the next several days because there's no way out. The entire city or area is surrounded by water, and this water also happens to be toxic. This happens all the time. Photojournalism and advocacy. So with the age of social media and photography, we are able to get images out almost as soon as they happen. We live in an era where anyone with a smartphone can be a photographer and share their perspectives online. And I found an interesting little fast fact here, but over 95 million images are shared on Instagram daily. And that was just as of 2021. So it just grows from there. And when you learn how to use social media as a tool by hashtagging your cause, or tagging specific community leaders, or other nonprofits or government agencies, you tend to get more eyes on your cause. Authentic documentation versus digital manipulation. It can be hard at times to resist the urge to over edit an image, like for Tar Creek, and those images that popped up that were of the water where everything was orange and covered in sludge. Those are exactly how they are. When I'm shooting in my own studio, I don't do a lot of retouching. I like to try to keep things as natural as possible. Of course, I'll go in and remove small blemishes or such, but you want to remember how things are as they are, not the Instagram version of life. So in the digital age, it's easy to alter these images, but authenticity resonates most. Genuine, untouched photos often speak louder than the polished ones. And I can't stress enough to resist that urge to over edit. Imperfections often make something more relatable. Capturing powerful images for advocacy. And you do that by finding your empathy, perspective, framing, storytelling through images, engaging and mobilizing. With empathy, you understand and connect with your subject, your emotion. Your emotions will translate through your lens. A photographer's genuine concern can often be felt in the image. Angles and viewpoints. The way you approach a scene can provide a fresh narrative and bring out the often overlooked details. So, getting low on the ground or shooting from a high vantage point for a unique perspective is going to be, it's going to catch the eye more than just if you're, for instance, standing with your cell phone and you're just right here in front. That's the normal view. That's the view that the other 30 people around you are also getting. Framing. Be intentional with what is in the frame and what's left out. Composition can guide the viewer's eye and highlight the central theme of your story. For photography, if you know anything about photography, we have the rule of thirds, and we use that as a basic guideline. So placing key elements at intersections of dividing grids in your rule of thirds, it makes it more eye-catching. It's easier to draw attention to your subject this way. Storytelling through images. Every photograph tells a story. Consider what narrative you are conveying before you take the picture. And so think big picture, little subject. So I have a lot of images of Rebecca Jim when we were doing the toxic tour recently in Miami, and picture. Big picture. So you have a drainage ditch basically emptying out toxic waste into a stream, and you have the contaminated stream, and then you have another stream that comes in and joins it, and it's clean fresh water. And then you have Rebecca, who's over here off to the side, who's constantly trying to keep the areas clear so they're not backed up with water, so you don't have a toxic pool where animals come in and try to drink from. And so by taking a step back and showing the full picture, you're able to see the vast trees that are still there. You're able to see that even though we have mistreated this area to the point of it caving in and being toxic, nature's still trying to take over. So you have beautiful native flowers and plants and everything all around the banks. But one thing you will notice is there are very, very few fish, if any. But then you have little Rebecca over here, and on the other side, trying to keep this area alive. Engaging and mobilizing through photography. Utilize captions and hashtags effectively to give context to your images and reach a wider audience. Share the behind the scenes stories or personal anecdotes. This humanizes your work to a point to where people can start to see themselves, and this builds a deeper connection with your audience. Okay, so there we go. With the right approach and understanding, even amateur photographers can harness the power of photography to advocate for causes close to their hearts. And in this digital age, we all have the potential to be visual storytellers, shaping narratives and influencing change. Just because I've been doing this for more than half my life now, doesn't mean that anybody can just pick up a camera and go out or their phones, because there are iPhones can do some pretty amazing things that took me at least a decade to learn how to do. And but go out and take control of what kind of story do you need to tell. And it doesn't necessarily have to be all advocacy or environmental photojournalism. Think about the preservation of your own family. Sit down with your grandma and have her tell you a story. Have her tell you how to make your favorite pancakes, and just record her audio, record her voice and her sweet little pet names for you, and take pictures with your phone. And she doesn't even necessarily need to know, but set your phone low on the table if she's sitting with her hands crossed, and remember her hands as they are in that moment. By documenting the little things in your own life, you are preserving that for not only for yourself, but for future generations. Even simple things like just taking pictures of the outside of your home. As we move around or we do renovations, it's always nice to go back and be able to see how things were in comparison to what they are now. There is a photographer who I can't remember his name, and that is very terrible of me, but he has like thousands and thousands and thousands of images from Picture and Commerce and Miami over the years. And because of his images, that are referenced very regularly. You're able to compare how the cities were at different points in time to what they are now. He has a very vast collection of these images, and because he took the time to archive everything and go out and capture his Oklahoma, how he sees it, we are able to draw from that and learn how we have changed, some for the better, some for the worse. And it's just kind of part of just getting out there and doing it. Don't not take a shot of something because you're like, who cares? You need to go out, preserve your family legacies, help the world see what causes are important to you, and remember things as they are. As was mentioned earlier, I'm a correspondent and photojournalist with Focus Black Oklahoma, and I work with Tri-City Collective, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. And this, if you want to learn more about me and what I do, you can scan this QR code here, and that will take you to my link tree. So a little bit about Tri-City Collective. Tri-City is a 501c3 of experienced educators, community leaders, and creative minds dedicated to the enrichment of the communities they serve. They offer educational and artistic opportunities to both youth and adults, emphasizing the importance of history, culture, and individual voices. We believe in the potential of everybody and aim to provide platforms for all of these voices to be recognized and appreciated. And we do that by taking on vast projects. So Focus Black Oklahoma is a project of Tri-City Collective. In fact, I think it was one of our very first ones. We have a series called Real Talk, where we kind of, each person within Tri-City, we pick a topic every month or every other month, and that's important to us. And we have a panel of educators or people that are more or very familiar or with these topics or work in that field, and we have an open discussion about it and a Q&A session afterwards, I guess sort of like this in a way. But we focus on things like neurodiversity and in the workplace, how it affects women more than it affects men, and how to navigate through the world when you're neurodivergent. We have had real talks on food deserts in our local communities here. We touched on the anti-Semitism that is plaguing everything everywhere, kind of right now. We had talks on just becoming the best you can be. So really, whatever we are passionate about in that moment is what we do for Real Talk. And our next one, on, I believe it's the 14th of October, is on the anti-Semitism and with the Jewish community and the reactions that the media and the role that the media and regular citizens have to these anti-Semitic sentiments, as well as the role of the media and group community reactions to other issues around the Tulsa Race Massacre. Acknowledge Oklahoma. Acknowledge Oklahoma was born out of created out of a need to preserve our history and to, at the very least, show people what has happened, just to be acknowledged. So we just want to acknowledge things that have happened in our past. Fire in Little Africa. If you followed the centennial events around the Tulsa Race Massacre, Fire in Little Africa is a music group of local artists that came together, and they made an album in one night out of the former Grady Mansion. And we worked with Fila and other members of our group and turned that into a lesson plan. Greenwood Mapping Project is kind of like Google Earth, or Google Earth, where you can go through with your phone and you can see exactly how things look from the perspective of being in front of a particular building. Well, the Greenwood Mapping Project is essentially the same idea, but how Greenwood looked before it was destroyed, when it was and then after a thriving community. The Namesake Project is a project that we taught children of kind of middle school age to high school how to do research, how to go through and research where they're from, research their schools, how did the schools get their name, a lot of places were named after generals or other important people in history or in their area. So we are turning all of these projects into a book later this year. And Team Talk, we are just launching. It is essentially Real Talk, but it will be led and produced by Tulsa area teens, and they will talk about issues that are important to them. Focus Black Oklahoma is a hour-long news program. We highlight topics vital to Oklahoma's diverse communities, showcasing our vibrant cultures with a heavy focus on rural and marginalized communities. This is a collaboration between KOSU, the Tulsa Artist Fellowship, Oklahoma State University Tulsa, and Tri-City Collective, and we air monthly on NPR, KOSU, and KWGS. You can also listen to past episodes on wherever you get your favorite podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. You can even say, Alexa, play Focus Black Oklahoma, and then our latest episode will play. Coming up next month is, if you are interested in what's going on in the Tar Creek area, there is a Tar Creek conference, and you can come out and meet the famous Rebecca Jim and get to learn about what's going on, what's happened, where we are now, and what's next for the Tar Creek area. It's a really neat conference. This will be their 25th. And all of the Native tribes in the area all come together and participate in this. And there's local art. They do toxic tours. It's a really great multi-day conference to go to for people of all ages. And there is a QR code there. You can scan that and click through to read more. Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Jamie, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I'm going to go ahead and grab over on my screen share here, and we will start getting into Q&A from all of the great questions that were submitted into the chat. First up on our list, we have, which of your images do you think has had the greatest impact? So have you taken an image that you've seen kind of that direct result happen from?
So during the centennial events of the Tulsa Race Massacre, Tri-City Collective partnered with several nonprofits in the area, and we raised a whole bunch of money and brought an art installation to Tulsa. It came down from Washington, D.C. It's called Society's Cage. And basically what Society's Cage is, it was created by a group of 4 architects with the Smith Group, who are also in charge of the Gilcrease renovations that are happening. And they basically took words, phrases from the past 200 and something years of racism, and they were able to turn them into an equation. And then they took those the sum of these equations and they plotted them out. And when they plotted them out, it became a cage. And then they built it. It is a 10-foot by 10-foot steel cage that it's full of poles that are rusty and chipped. And when it's hot, you can smell that earthy scent they put off it, and they radiate heat. And at night they have lights that come through some of the poles at the top, and it gives you a whole different perspective of when you walk through this cage, and you're able to like feel the weight of racism basically. And you can I took images of this, and when we were done with the project, because we had it here for 6 weeks, as a thank you, we mailed some images to our donors as a thank you, and that turned into actually my first gallery, my first exhibit from the outcome of this. So schools from all over the area came out to see the cage and to learn about it. And I will, in fact, when all this is done, I will send a polished PDF over to the Sustainability Alliance. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I will make sure there are images attached, and where you can go and read more and see that. But that was, I didn't think that I thought they were great and I loved them, but they had way more of an impact than I anticipated. And they led to a whole exhibit that was only supposed to be up for like 3 weeks, and it ended up being, I think it was at the Sherman Miller Museum of Jewish Art, and it ended up being up for, gosh, a little over 6 months, I believe. So.
Wow. Very cool. Thank you, Jamie. So everyone, we did start a little bit later today. So I would like to ask Jamie one more question from the chat, and then just invite you all to stick around for the next 15 minutes or so. Jamie's going to hang out with us after we finish up with a couple of announcements, so we can ask more questions and have additional conversations then. So my last question for you during this portion of the Q&A is about photo management. What tools can you recommend to help manage our, all of the photo galleries that we have? The person that submitted this question says, for example, they currently have over 8,500 photos on their phone, but don't have any plans to post or use them otherwise. Do you have a strategy or tool to help us with that?
Yeah, so I don't anticipate everybody needing their own designated server, but what I do for my business is I have a server that I put everything on, and it backs it up locally in my home, and then it also puts it in the cloud online. So I have access to it everywhere. And then I have a third backup at a different location. So if my house burns down and we don't have internet, I can still access all of my images. So having something offsite is always a great idea. So when in the days of when I was a wedding photographer, and that was all I shot. We always told our brides to, when we would give them their images, to make a copy and then take on a thumb drive and take that to their parents' house, or put it in a fireproof safe offsite somewhere. That way they always have a backup. Another way is to utilize the free cloud services that we have available. Like if you are an Amazon Prime member, you get free cloud storage for your images. With Google Photos, which I personally just love using, because I've used Google Photos since my child, who is 17 now, since he was, goodness, I think just after he was born, so almost 17 years. And I am able to go through and see any stage of his life really quickly through my phone. And they even break everything down to, because it's an AI program, it will go through and identify the different people's faces throughout all of your images. And then you can go, I mean, it takes a little time to set up, but you can go through and label those different faces. So when you go to search, you can just tap on a picture of your mom, and then all the pictures of your mom pop up right there for you. And they're all chronicled. And it's just great.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. Okay, so I don't know if anyone has taken the exit survey yet, but please do so now if you haven't already. And thank you so much again, Jamie. We are so glad that you were able to join us today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Corey to give a couple of wrap-up announcements very quickly before we open it up to more general discussion.
Thank you so much. Jamie, that was great. And I'm sure it's got a lot of people thinking. I saw your suggestion to record your grandma asking a few questions. I saw several excited about that. And so thank you for inspiring that. Again, thank you. And thank you for sticking around. I know there are some other questions. People have some other questions for you. So thank you all for joining us. I think the exit poll just went out. So please take a moment to answer that if you haven't already. Join us for our next First Thursday event featuring Jenny Morgan, a market development with Tradewater. And don't miss out. Register now. You use the link in the chat. And also, there are many of you here today. There are members of Scorecard, but those who are not, if you're interested, please reach out to Teresa and put a note there in the chat. But again, Scorecard helps organizations save millions of dollars every year, provides comprehensive program resources, and supports sustainability improvements. So if you want to find out more for organization that you're a part of or work for, lots of great information there. So reach out to Teresa Kerrigan, Scorecard Director. Also, if you're interested in getting more engaged with creating a challenge at the workplace or being just learning more, download the TerraScore app. It's free on Apple and Android devices, and learn about sustainable habits and complete the challenges and make a collective impact. It is intended there to guide and give suggestions and to see how all the areas of people, profit, and planet are combined. So there's a code on the screen, and download it and get started today. And finally, we proudly support the Monarch Initiative of Tulsa. So get involved to protect this keystone species that migrates through the state every fall by joining us at the 8th annual Monarchs on the Mountain Festival. See the date and see that we'll see you there at Chandler Park, Saturday, September coming up. And check out our website for more information. And again, thank you to all our sponsors, lead sponsor Williams, our neighborhood partners, PSO and PSO Wind Choice, our community advocates, Cavanta, the Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Air Systems, Tulsa Farmers Market, Sustainable Advisors Alliance, and Philbrook Museum of Art. We're very appreciative of all their support, and we look forward to seeing you next month on Zoom, October 5th. So see you there. And please stick around. We'd love to have you ask a few more questions and visit with Jamie. And thank you again. Another round of applause for Jamie. Thank you so much for your time and thoughtfulness and bringing information forward to learn more about the work that you're doing in the Tri-City Collective, as well as just how to be more thoughtful as we record our lives around us. So, all right, everyone, have a good rest of the day, but stick around for a few minutes. We'd love to hear from you.